We continue to watch two tropical systems out in the Atlantic this morning. One is a powerful hurricane, and that is Humberto, Category 4 storm. The other is still Tropical Depression 9. Has not become Tropical Storm Imelda yet, but is forecast to do so over the next 12, 18 hours or so. And that is the one that's been tricky to figure out. Is it going to bring significant impacts to the southeast coastline? Is it going to bring just kind of moderate to minimum impacts, or any impacts at all? We know there's going to be a lot of rain that's going to fall from this, but how much? What about winds? Things like that. So here to figure out all those things, we'll spend most of our attention on Imelda for obvious reasons, but we'll speak on all model guidance, current conditions, latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll go over strength, steering currents, and all that. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Let's make sure this is going to work. And it is, so we're good to go. So taking a broad look at the Atlantic, just want to show you guys how close these systems are to one another, because that means a lot as far as where they get steered, things like that. So that is Humberto, a very impressive looking hurricane, high-end Category 4 storm. It was at a Category 5 last night, downgrade a little bit, but still just a unit of a hurricane. Then this sloppy mess right here is Tropical Depression 9. Now, I know it looks very large, but really this is just a whole lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. The actual defined low-level circulation is right into here, and we'll take a closer look at this system here in a second. But that's Tropical Depression 9. That is Category 4 Hurricane Humberto, and this thing is really starting to catch up with Tropical Depression 9's energy. So that has definitely shifted model guidance over the last 24 to 36 hours, because kind of the slow strengthening of this system has allowed this to not really get north fast. So that has allowed Humberto to kind of catch up with this system. And we'll speak on why that has changed the forecast as far as model guidance as we move along. So let's continue to look at this. This is the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Humberto is a 155 mile per hour Category 4 storm. Then we got Tropical Depression 9, which is a 35 mile per hour storm, 1,003 millibars. So that has dropped a little bit, indicating a little bit of strengthening and moving at a whopping north-northwest at 7 miles per hour. So let's dive deep into future Imelda. Now, right now, this is Cuba. This is the southern tip of Florida. This is the Bahamas and the Turks Caicos Islands over here. Is there any kind of defined low-level circulation? Well, it looks like there is, in my opinion, and it's right into here. You can see a little bit of a spin at the lower levels underneath all this mid-level convection, which is these blobs in color you see on your screen, indicating shower and thunderstorm activity. So if you look really closely, you can see some downward motion here, and it kind of goes over like that. Then it kind of goes up like this, and it's hard to see underneath all these colors right here. But you got some sort of low-level circulation right into here. So I really think as this pulls away from Cuba and just gets into the Bahama Islands, this will slowly strengthen over the next 12 to 24 hours into a tropical storm. We can finally stop saying soon to be or future Imelda, and we can just call it Tropical Storm Imelda. Still forecast to become a hurricane, but here's just a closer look at the system itself. So let's continue to move forward and look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. And I do want to get this area in view right here. So I mean, it's an obvious tick east with the cone, right? This is fantastic news. I mean, it's ticked east so much that now Bermuda is in this cone, and this isn't even Humberto's cone. This is future Imelda's cone. So pretty wild stuff. But S stands for tropical storm, H a hurricane. So still forecast to become a hurricane early this week. And yeah, so just remember, this is not impact cone. The cone contains the probable path of the storm center, but does not show the size of the storm. Hazardous conditions can occur outside of the cone. So this is where the center of the storm could go. So I made a comment yesterday thinking they nudged us just a little bit too far east off the bat. Well, model guidance has continued to kind of lock into this idea. So tip your cap to the National Hurricane Center. They're the experts for a reason. And they're really starting to lock in just almost a breaking of a neck right here of this really abruptly turning east. And just another way to look at this, Tropical depression right now, forecast to become a tropical storm sometime this afternoon. It says 2 p.m. Sunday, 45-mile-per-hour storm. And then by overnight tonight, 60-mile-per-hour storm. And this could become close to hurricane status just north of the Bahamas sometime tomorrow afternoon. Now, if you look at all these blue areas, these are tropical storm warnings up for all the Bahama Islands. And even Florida, the Space Coast, from just south of Palm Coast all the way down to almost West Palm Beach. Tropical storm watches up here. I don't know if they'll upgrade these to warnings. I think that this will pretty much stay a tropical storm watch unless we get ticks further to the west with this, and we could. The trends are not over, I don't think, but I do think it's starting to lock in. By Monday evening, sometime Monday p.m. into Tuesday morning, Category 1 hurricane. And then we'll kind of zoom out here because, look, the Carolina coastline, Georgia coastline is not even close inside the cone anymore. But we could still see a lot of rainfall in these areas and some gusty winds, large swells. And, of course, things could change and all this could move back west. But we just got to leave the window open for the possibility of that. We never want to speak in absolutes with these things. We know that, right? The peak forecast intensity is now showing an 85-mile-per-hour Category 1 storm sometime later this week, Wednesday night into Tuesday morning. And they think that this is going to go post-tropical, start to lose its tropical characteristics as we get later into this week, Thursday into Friday. And Bermuda is actually in this cone, right smack in the middle of the far end of this cone. So we actually got to continue to watch Bermuda with Imelda, and we've been talking about that over the last couple of videos. There's still a possibility, and I'm about to go over all model guides, that this could kind of get tugged back west after it goes east. So, all model guides. The latest from the Euro from overnight, saying this is going to kind of maintain strength throughout the next 18 hours. But listen, the Euro is not always the best with strength. I will tell you that. It's a great model to look at with the tropics and short term. And as far as like where this thing's going to get steered. So we start to get into tomorrow morning. This is in the northern end of the Bahama Islands here, 1,002 millibar low. And you can already tell, I mean, there's a lot of moisture getting well out ahead of this system. So even though this is most likely not going to make a direct landfall anymore, we're going to get a lot of big slug of moisture basically pulling north. And we're going to continue into Tuesday morning. And it does lose the millibar rating for us, but this is probably 980s. So Category 1 hurricane at this point, just off the, well, I would say well off the coast of the southeast. And then we continue, and then we get into Wednesday, and it's about a 990 millibar low. So, you know, the Euro really supports what the National Hurricane Center is showing, which is just a Category 1 hurricane. I do think this could get to Cat 2. I really do. But this continues to move away as we get into Wednesday, and then we get into Thursday, and then it's off our screen. Does it hook back? Not on this run, it doesn't. But look, the Euro tries to spin up something down there in about a week in the Northern Gulf. And, you know, we always got to continue to watch the Gulf well until October. We all know that. But we're going to focus on future Imelda. The GFS, strengthening tropical system through the Bahamas over the next 24 hours. We get a hurricane by tomorrow evening, 986 millibar low. Slugs of moisture getting all the way up to the Carolina coastline. And then it's spinning around, and then we get into late Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, and we have a 969 millibar hurricane. It's well off the coast of the southeast, though, so let's make it a Category 2 storm, but it's moving away. So great trends, guys. Fantastic trends. Your AI model, what does it show? Same thing, strengthening storm system. Look at that little nudge west, and it gets close, but then it sits there, spins over the warm waters, and taps into the warm waters of the Gulf Stream. And this is Tuesday morning, got around a Category 2 hurricane off the coast of the southeast, kind of just hanging out. And this thing is probably still going to really slow down, maybe even stall, but it's hanging out sort of well north of the Bahamas, off the coast of the southeast. And what is it going to do? It's going to move away, you know, Wednesday into Thursday. It's Category 2 hurricane out there. It's moving away, but look how it nudges back west there. It's not a clean escape route out to the Atlantic, and actually, you know, shows a scenario. I'm going to show this on the fly here. Let's look at this. It shows a scenario where this gets awfully close. I mean, close enough to bring some moisture to southeast Mass. And this shows a scenario where it could threaten, and this is something to watch, where it could threaten Atlantic Canada in the 7 to 10 day range. Okay, so that is something to watch. What about hurricane models? And the new ones are running right now, but we're just going to show the OOZ, and it shows this as a Category 1 hurricane by the time we're getting into tomorrow morning. Not sure if it's going to strengthen that fast, but the thing's spinning around. This is the Florida coastline. This is the H-Wharf model. This is the Georgia coastline here. What is it going to do? It's going to just hang around as a Category 2 hurricane. Tuesday morning off the coast of the southeast. That's South Carolina. That's Georgia. Spin around, and I mean, it's close enough to bring some moisture, but then it heads on out into the Atlantic. Okay, what about the latest one? Let's see if we got it. We do, but only 27 hours out. So it actually did come west. So that's interesting. It came west a little bit. So that's something to watch. And we just got to watch these trends and things like that. What about the HMON model? Let's see if we have the completion of the new one. No, we only got 48 hours out, but I will look at it here in a second. The HMON model, here we go. Strengthening tropical system 985. That's the Florida coastline. That's Georgia right there. And we get to about, it just maintains Category 1 status. Might sneak to Category 2 as we get into the 970s. This is Wednesday. This is Tuesday evening. South Carolina coastline right here, but it's well away. And then this moves away. Okay, what about the 06Z run? Only got 48 hours out, and it's about right here. Is there a difference? It is a little bit further west on the latest run. So that's interesting. But we go and look at the HFA model. And let's see what we got here. 51 hours out. So we almost had the completion of the 06Zs, but as we are getting into tomorrow afternoon, strengthening tropical system, it has us as a Category 2 hurricane. That's the Florida coastline right here as we're getting into Tuesday morning. Then we get into Wednesday morning, and this thing doesn't even get close to anybody else after that. Now, what about the latest 06Z? This is getting into early Tuesday morning, 979 millibar low, well off the coast of Florida. And yes, I mean, that is a little bit further west compared to the last run, so it's interesting. It's not, you can't call it a trend, though. Can't call it a trend yet. What about the HFB model? Same thing. Kind of strengthens to a Category 2 hurricane. The hurricane models are definitely more bullish on a stronger storm system, and that's why I've continued my thinking on this reaching a Category 2 hurricane at some point, but it never really gets close enough to bring any significant impact to the East Coast. Now, what about the latest run? And yeah, this looks like it's about the same. It didn't really change much. So that's the hurricane models. This is the Euro ensemble. You can see these are the members right here for Imelda. And you can see how they kind of come up right here, and then they immediately kind of jolt to the east, get yanked to the east by the pull, and quite literally the yank from Humberto, which is going up, you know, through here. There's a couple members that try to get too close for comfort to the Carolina coastline, but I mean, you can see the bulk of the members and what they're doing here. And same thing with the Google DeepMind models. The ensemble guidance here. There's a abrupt turn to the east. So it's good news. Now let's talk about the strengthening of this storm system, and let's speak on the easy thing, which is sea surface temperatures. If you don't know, I'm about to tell you, but you know, these tropical systems like warmer waters. They don't like cool waters, so this thing will have plenty of warm water to deal with. It's going to actually have an opportunity to ride over the Gulf Stream, and at least portions of it. So the system itself is right into here, chilling over some, well, not chilling, it's very warm. But it's hanging out over some very warm waters, 29, 30 degrees Celsius, which is what this is showing up as. That's mid upper 80s in Fahrenheit. So this system is going to kind of cruise up through here and then eventually do like that, or maybe a little bit sooner. But it's going to kind of go through this area right here. And the sea surface temperatures in this area are plenty warm enough. So you got that. I mean, that is the Gulf Stream literally right into here. So if it really hangs out over that for too long, it's really going to get a boost. Okay, but of course, sea surface temperatures isn't the only thing we look at when we're talking about the strength of a storm system. Next thing is, and let's make this a little bit bigger, is what about the upper wind pattern? So there's a feature sort of right into here, and it's decaying and weakening right now, but it's an upper level trough or an upper level low, and it's diving down. The flow around this feature goes like this, goes like that, and then it abruptly takes off like this. Okay, So that's how the flow around this feature goes. That is our tropical system right here, Imelda, soon to be. So it's hanging out down here. So the environment really north of this system is a very favorable environment, upper wind pattern wise, for at least moderate strengthening of this system as it sort of moves into this area and like that. Okay, and this is because you have a lot of dispersion of air on the northern portion of this storm system. So air is basically being dispersed outward. This allows for more air to rapidly rise. That gets pushed outward. Rising air allows for convection, shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity creates a moist environment. We know that tropical systems like moist air, so it will have an opportunity to at least moderately intensify. Now, there's some things working against this system, and that is the flow at this flank of this upper level trough, kind of diving down. This is probably introducing some dry air on the western or southwestern, even southern flank of this system that will eventually will try to tug into the cyclonic rotation of this system. But the environment right into here is going to be moist because of the favorable upper wind pattern, just a lot of air being dispersed outward away from the system. And this basically kind of what happens here, because you might think, well, why isn't moist air kind of being dispersed this way towards the system? Well, this is pulling in dry air from the west with the directional flow in the upper levels going like this right here. This is pulling up moist air from the tropics down here, whether that's the tropical system itself or whether that is just tropical air from, the Southwest Atlantic or the Caribbean. So it's all about which way the flow is coming out of. This is coming out the west, so yanking in some of that dry air. So now we know that as we continue to move forward here, that you're going to kind of lose where the low pressure is, but it's right here. Now, model guidance kind of agrees and disagrees, and there's just a little confusion here, but you continue to have an environment that supports a lot of air being dispersed out away from the system. Now, it kind of gets weird right here because you have some flow as this upper trough sort of weakens that works against the system and some that kind of goes around it. So I do think some dry air is going to get wrapped in, but I do think at this point, if the GFS is correct, which is what I'm showing you, this could be fully wrapped with very moist air as we're getting into Tuesday. So it'll take a lot of dry air to get into this, and eventually it will. It'll win out, especially as this loses. It begins to just lose its tropical characteristics. But I do think the ceiling of this system is certainly a Category 2 hurricane. Category 3, I doubt it, but the ceiling is definitely a Cat 2. And you can see a great example of what I was just talking about with this, right? The brown is dry air, the green is moist air, and if we take a look at this here, our tropical system itself is right here. There's that dry air I was talking about coming out the west, getting pulled in, and you can actually see at the bottom of your screen some of this dry air trying to sneak in right there. But well north of the system, big plume of moist air getting dispersed north out ahead of this system. Okay, now as we continue to move forward here, dry air is wrapping into the cyclonic flow of the system. Okay, it's wrapping in. It's kind of just setting the stage, just ready to almost attack a weak spot of this storm system. But right now in the GFS, this is fully wrapped in a lot of moist air, so it's not going to get bothered by it. And you can see all this moist air out ahead of this system is going to allow for a lot of rainfall, catastrophic flooding, significant flooding. I don't think so, but it is going to push a lot of rainfall up into this area. Okay, even if this system, which it most likely will now, kind of abruptly turns this way. So you continue to move forward here. And the system actually is a very healthy hurricane as we get into October 1st. But dry air still hanging around, and eventually, if you look at the final frame here, you can see how the dry air catches up with it, and it'll begin to ultimately weaken this system. And then we get a beautiful fall air mass that sweeps in to the southeast, which I haven't had really a chance to talk about for the back half of this week, but we will speak on it. I'm talking about true fall air across areas of the southeast, so it'll be a treat. But that's that. And a great example of what I'm talking about with kind of moist air getting dispersed north of the system is our system's down here, right? You can already see moisture kind of trailing up this area, and this is the real-time radar. This is actually what's falling. So you can see moisture already kind of coming north. So, real-time observations, what's actually falling from the sky, matches up well with what we just explained, right? So if we look at predicted rainfall between now and about 8 a.m. Friday, the Florida coastline over the next really 48 to 72 hours is going to get a few inches of rain. And then the Georgia to South Carolina coastline, these totals have definitely dropped. I mean, at one point it was showing over 10 inches of rain for areas of eastern South Carolina. I mean, it has dropped off 75, 80%. And that is because the track of our system has changed. So, these are totals for Georgia and South Carolina. This is North Carolina, Virginia, and other areas. Certainly not as crazy rainfall totals. That's just because the track has shifted. If we talk about winds, even the chances of higher wind gusts have dropped. So now, it's actually the highest around the Florida coastline. We're still hanging around to 30 to 40% chance of 40 mile per hour wind gusts or higher. But it's dropped along the Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina coastline to about 10 to 20% chance. And, if you want to know, here is the time frame of these wind gusts. So, moving forward, let's talk about Humberto. We'll continue to track Imelda and see if anything changes. We will. But Humberto is a 155 mile per hour Category 4 storm. Not quite as strong as when we did last night's video, but still cleared out eye, very healthy hurricane, symmetrical hurricane. And, there's no point in really diving any deeper into this. I mean, just an incredibly healthy hurricane. But, we look at the latest cone, 155 mile per hour storm. Really just a beautiful hurricane. I mean, I feel comfortable saying this when this isn't bothering anybody. I mean, you got the British Virgin Islands down here, Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands here, and this is just sitting comfortably to the north, but a very impressive looking symmetrical hurricane here. So it'll maintain Category 4 status probably through about, deep into into Monday evening. And then should weaken into a Category 3 hurricane. You can see this weird light little nudge right here. That's because this could actually get tugged a little bit by Imelda. But Bermuda, you are outside the cone, so they are pretty confident that you guys are not going to take a direct landfall from the system. But remember, this is not the impact cone. This is just where the center of the storm could go. But should make it the closest pass to your west to probably sometime Monday p.m. Then get north of you guys Tuesday night. Keep getting my days mixed up into Wednesday morning. And then this thing will begin to really, truly lose its tropical characteristics as it becomes a powerful post-tropical cyclone late this work week. But you can see, Atlantic Canada, you guys are comfortably north of this cone. So we're good there. Now, moving forward and just looking at some model guides, not much has changed with this. Bermuda's this little speck right here. And we get into Monday, we get into Tuesday, we get into Wednesday, and this comfortably sort of just moves to the west, then northwest, and then north. And we just got to watch what Imelda does behind it also. But it is close enough to bring impacts. You can see these outer bands, some gusty winds, will definitely hit Bermuda. So, I mean, this is Tuesday afternoon. It looks like a rough day of weather in Bermuda. You guys will be on the dirty side of this storm system, which is the east side. And, look at the GFS, not as worrisome looking, but, you certainly will still deal with impacts even if the GFS, actually happens. So, we'll continue to watch all this, guys. And, if we look at the chances of tropical storm force wind gusts, Bermuda, you're sitting in that 60 to 70% chance. That's 40 mile per hour wind gust or higher. So you guys are definitely going to get some impacts from this, but devastating, significant impacts, I don't think so. So, talking about steering currents, we're going to gradually start to leave this segment of the video behind because we have explained this like crazy. But we're going to probably do it maybe a couple more times. This might be the last time, honestly, just to kind of make these videos not as long as what they've been. But we're going to explain to you what's going to happen now and going forward, okay? We got high pressure right here. This is Humberto right here. And we're breaking down, looks like the GFS. Okay? Yeah, the GFS. We got Humberto right here. We got soon to be Imelda right here. And we got kind of a decaying upper trough sort of right into here. Okay, so Humberto is just, it's an easy route, right? It's being steered by the flow around this high pressure. Okay, flow around high pressure doing this. So that's what's steering this system. I mean, and that has been the case over the last several days. Imelda has kind of just took its sweet time strengthening in the last few days. Model guidance was really liking the idea of this getting together faster. If that was going to happen, it would have been it would have probably allowed this to gain latitude a little bit faster. So if it was like right here already, kind of already escaping the Bahamas, I really think that we would have more of a threatening scenario of this thing moving into the Carolina coastline. It would, get well out ahead of Humberto, and this thing would already be picking up some forward speed and already getting yanked and captured by the flow of this upper trough and the flow around it going like this. Or, like this. Or something like that. So this would already be feeling the flow of this and heading this way if it was already stronger basically over the weekend. But it's remained weak. It's still not a tropical storm. So this has allowed this system to sort of meander around and relatively light steering currents because I would say it's decently away from the flow around the southwest edge of this high pressure. And it's pretty well south of the flow around, this upper trough. So it's just kind of been hanging out in pretty weaker, I would say, more weaker steering currents. But the main thing that really has not allowed this to get north is just how weak it's been in the shorter term. This has just not allowed it to be further north and be captured by some better steering currents. So Humberto hasn't changed. I mean, it's just continued to have its forward progression in general to the west, and it's allowed it to really catch up with Imelda. So, we keep this going because they're kind of closer to one another now. Humberto is literally going to save the southeast coastline from a landfalling tropical system, more than likely. I mean, this is getting into Monday night, Tuesday morning. You think that this blob right here, which is Imelda, is heading right towards the southeast coastline, and boom, it gets yanked away. And it gets yanked away because you got to think. We'll stop it right here. This is, late Monday night. Cyclonic flow of Humberto goes like this. Cyclonic flow of Imelda goes like this. But Humberto is the stronger storm system. So it's actually going to yank on the system this way. Imelda, it's going to pull it. Okay? And at the same time, Imelda's going to try to yank on Humberto also, but there's so much forward progression, I think, at this point with Humberto that it's just not going to do a whole lot. But there is a little bit of a nudge further west right here. So it's almost like flow from Imelda's trying to pull this way. Flow from Humberto is literally pulling this way. Okay? I mean, there's some sort of pivot point, like literally right into here, where they're orbiting one another. I mean, the Fujiwara effect, but it's not a completed Fujiwara effect, I would say. And then it just kind of yanks it enough where it gets captured, and then it moves on away. So it's a wild scenario here. Humberto has quite literally, it's literally going to save the southeast coastline. And I mean, it really goes to show you, before I wrap this video up, how hard it is to get a landfalling tropical system for the East Coast. I mean, normally you get a scrape, you get a close call like what this is likely going to be, but you rarely ever anymore see just a hurricane just bulldoze right into the southeast coastline. Like Hurricane Hugo, that was a great example. I mean, we've had landfalling tropical systems along the Carolina coastline, for example. But, a powerful Category 2, 3, 4 hurricane, I mean, it's been a while. And I mean, normally they do this number right here. This is what they do. They'll kind of come up like this and kind of hit Wilmington or the Outer Banks. But you don't see them come up and do this much. I mean, Florence did kind of come from right where Humberto is going to be Monday evening and kind of go like that or something. But yeah, you just don't see it much. It's pretty wild, honestly, and it's great. there was some scary model runs a few days ago showing this thing getting just thrown into the Carolinas and just hitting the mountains, the Apps. We don't want to see that, the Appalachian Mountains. So I'll be honest, I'm about done talking about this system. I hope that the trends continue. I'm looking forward to some fall weather at the end of this week, and I really hope that this is the last significant thing we talk about with the tropics. But October can get weird, guys. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for the amazing support over the last several days. We'll continue to track these storm systems. We still got a few days out ahead of us at least. And, I'll try to get caught up with all the comments probably tomorrow. I know there's a lot of catching up to do, but thank you for anybody who's donated to the channel. Thank you for the couple members that have became members of the channel. Appreciate all the people who have chose my channel to watch. I do these Bible devotions about 3 or 4 times a week. So not going to have one this morning, but we'll get back to that tomorrow. But continue to throw your prayer requests in the comments below. Even though I'm not able to read the comments every single day for the most part, especially when it's this busy, other people are reading through your prayer requests, and it's a very important part of this channel. I mean, hundreds of people could see your prayer requests, maybe thousands. So you just definitely put them there. We want to pray for you. We want to give God the glory. So that's all I got. Thank y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tonight.